welcome to Dwayne's Guitar Lessons. I'm instructor Dwayne Jenkins. In today's video we are going to be continuing our video series on how to improve our rhythm guitar playing. We're going to be talking today about chord progressions, and we're going to be talking a little bit about what's in this book right here, Learn to Play Rhythm Guitar. So if you're interested in improving your rhythm guitar playing, then you're in the right spot. Now, today's video we're going to be talking about, like I said, how to do chord progressions, okay? So in the last few videos, if you haven't seen those, I'll leave them in the links below. I recommend you watch those. In the last videos, I've shown you how to play chords, I've shown you how to form chords, I've shown you how to strum chords, arpeggiate chords. And in this video, I want to show you a little bit about the next thing you want to learn is chord progressions, okay? So I had a student ask me about how do we know, what chords come out of what key? Well, the way you distinguish what chords come out of each key is you got to go by the numbers, okay? Music, when you look at it from a theory point of view, music is a science of mathematics, okay? A science of mathematics because you're dealing with scientific formulas and you're dealing with numbers. Okay? Now if you think like that, if you can get that wrapped in your brain, it's going to be a lot easier to learn music theory. Now it's good to learn a little bit of music theory. You don't have to go massive into it if you don't want to, but I would recommend you at least learn the basic fundamentals, okay? The basic fundamentals, because it's going to help you with writing songs, it's going to help you with learning songs, it's going to help you with recognizing chords and things like that when you hear them in songs that you like and maybe possibly want to learn in the future. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to look at a key. We'll say the key of C, for instance, or let's just say the key of G. Okay, key of G. Now every key in the music spectrum has 7 notes in it, and they're all broken down in either majors or minors. Okay, so we have 12 notes in the musical alphabet, sometimes called the chromatic scale. These 12 notes right here, I'll have them written right here. Okay, these are the 12 notes of the musical alphabet. Now out of these 12 notes come the keys that songs and music is created out of. And each key has 7 notes. 7 notes. Okay? So let's take, for instance, we take the key of G. Okay? The key of G major. So we're going to use the key of G major. Okay? And once again, we're going to have the 7 notes written right here. So we have G, A minor, B minor, C major, D major, E minor, and F sharp diminished. Now we won't worry about diminished for right now because it's not really that popular, and the reason why is because it just has kind of an odd sound to it. So what we'll just work with is those 6. Those are the most common. Okay, then it's so when you have, and you know the major scale because it has that do re mi. Now if you don't understand that, I would recommend you go back and check out those videos that I had presented to you, those lessons on that concept. Okay, and like I said, those videos are linked down below. Now if we take our G, we know we have G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G. And we can tell those are those notes because of the do, re, mi. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Okay? And we just take 7 notes because do and do is the same. So we just take 7 notes. G, A, B, C, D, E, and F sharp. Okay? Now, to figure out chords, we got to figure out which ones are majors and which ones are minor. And it's not really that difficult. It's pretty easy. What we got to remember is that the 1, the 4, and the 5 are major. The 2, the 3, and the 6 are going to be minor. Okay? So the 1, the 4, the 5 are major. Okay, the 2, the 3, and the 6 are going to be minor, which means that if we're playing a G, since it's the 1, it's going to be a major chord. Okay, if we're playing the 6, which is E, it's going to be a minor chord, which means it's going to be E minor. Okay, if we decide to play the C, well, according to our philosophy here, what is the C? The C is a 4, so that means it makes it a major. The 5th is a major, that's the D, so that's a D major, okay? If we wanted to play the A, which is the 2, the 2 is a minor, and it's always going to be a minor in any key, so in this particular key, it's going to be A minor. So we could go from, if we wanted to go from a 1 to a 2, we'd play a G major to an A minor. See how those go together real well? If we wanted to do your standard chord progression of a 1, 4, 5, which is probably the most common chord progression there is, so you want to remember that, okay? You could write a song in the key of G with a 1, 4, 5, because there's hundreds of songs out there written it, so if they can write them, why can't you, right? So, if we were going to write in the key of G in a 1, 4, 5 progression, what notes would we use? Well, we would use our G major chord. The 4 is a major, so we'd use C major. And the 5 is a D, so we go to a D major. G, C, D. And then back to G. That's probably the most common chord progression in all keys. G, A, B, C, D, all of them. Okay, so you find the 1, 4, 5 in that key, and you can write a song. That simple, that easy. Hundreds of songs have only 3 chords in them, those particular ones. The 1, the 4, and the 5, and they're all major. Now another thing that songs do is they'll throw in the relative minor, which is the 6. Now the 6 is always going to be a minor. Like I mentioned to you just a second ago, the 2, the 3, and the 6 are going to be minor. So you want to remember that, okay? So if we're playing in G, right? We know the 6, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la. There's our 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. La is 6, that's the E. That's going to be an E minor. So we could go from G to E minor. See how that just sounds good together? They sound great because both of those chords come out of that key. And if you can remember which ones are major and which ones are minor, you'll be able to sound great every single time because the chords will go great together. And if you pick those chords that come out of that key, and it doesn't matter if it's key of G, C, D, A, B, it doesn't matter. As long as you got the right chords and you've got the right notes and you know whether they're major or minor, if you know whether they're a 2 or 3 and a 6, whatnot, then you're going to sound good every single time, okay? Let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. Just a second ago, I showed you the G, C, to D. Back to G maybe, okay? There's a song right there, okay? 3 chords. Now, if we throw in the 6, another chord progression that's real popular in a lot of songs is the 1, 6, 4, 5, okay? So the 6 is a minor, so we throw the, if we're going to do that with G, we go G, and then E minor. E is the 6, so we know that's a minor. The 4th is a C, that's a major. And the 5th is a D, and that's a major as well. So we could go change it up a little bit. Instead of going G, C, D, we throw the E minor in there. Now we have this. Can you hear how that E minor just changed it up a little bit? We could even, and since we know there's 3 minors, we could go to any one of those other minors as well. We could go, if we were in the key of G, we could go to, say, the B minor. What if we went from G to B minor to C to D? Let's see how that sounds. Let's say we're playing in the key of C, all right? Let's say C was the 1, and we wanted to do a 1, 4, 5. And once again, let's look at the notes in C. I have them written right here at the bottom, okay? And we can tell from looking at the notes, the C is the 1, our 4 is F, and our 5 is G. Okay, so if we had C, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. So if you wanted to make a 1, 4, 5 out of that, you could go, you could go C, F, G, back to C. See, there's a song right there as well, okay? What you want to do is you want to look at the notes in every key, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, all 7 keys, because those are the most common ones. Now they do have like the key of B flat and F sharp, things like that, but your most common, those 7 keys, A through G, figure out the 7 notes in them, and then, once you get those 7 notes down, then you can decide which ones are going to be major and which ones are going to be minor. And remember, once again, the 1, the 4, and the 5 are going to be major. The 2, 3, and 6 are going to be minor. So when you're putting a chord progression together, as long as you remember that, okay, you remember that, all your chords are going to sound great together. It doesn't matter what you do. If you're playing in G, let's say you're playing in the key of G, and you say, okay, now you don't have to start with G. I'm just using this for an example. You can start with D, then go to C, and then go to G, or you could go from D to G or C, however you want to do it. It's up to you. It's a chance for you to be creative. But you want to use those particular chords in that key, and it'll sound great every time. It doesn't matter how you do it. If you want to go from G to A, if you want to go to G to A, right, just make sure your G is a major and your A is a minor. See how that just sounds good? And then if you want to throw the E in there, let's say you say, I want to throw the E in there. Well, you got to just determine, is the E a major or is it a minor? Well, in the key of G, it's the 6, so that tells us that it's a minor. So let's say we go from G to A minor, and then we want to throw the E in there. We throw the E minor. See, it sounds good because it's in the correct chord, the minor. Alright, so there's our simple lesson on chord progressions, figuring out what chords are in the key. You got to first figure out the notes, the 7 notes that are in the key. Then you got to figure out which ones are major and which ones are minor. Okay, and like I told you, the 1, the 4, 5 are going to be the major, the 2, 3, 6 are going to be the minor, and the 7th is going to be diminished. Now the 7th, I didn't mention too much about that because it's not as popular. It does have its place in music for sure, but it's not quite as popular as the majors and the minors. And for right now, just starting out, I would recommend just mastering the majors and the minors first, then you can work on the diminished. And if you have any questions, if you want to learn more about that, I would recommend checking out my book here, Learn How to Play Rhythm Guitar. It's going to really show you how to improve your rhythm. I show you all the chords. I show you how to read notation. I show you some basic chord theory. I give you some activities, some learning assessments. I show you the chord diagrams. I show you how to read the chord charts. All this stuff in a very simple, easy, step-by-step method that's going to get you some quick results in a very short time. So, thank you so much for being here. If you have any questions, leave me in the comments below. And be sure to just practice this stuff every day. Just pick up your guitar, pick out a key. It doesn't matter what it is. C is probably the best because it doesn't have any accidentals. Figure out what the notes are. Decide which ones are going to be major, which one's going to be minor, and practice it. Work with it. Say, okay, I'm in C, and I want to go to the 4th. What's the 4th? It's F. Go to that chord, And maybe you want to go to the 5th. That's G. Go to that chord. Before you know it, you'll start hearing songs. You'll say, hey, that sounds like a song that I know. Because it's probably written in that key using those chords. Or you could use it to write your own songs. Okay, so just work on this, practice this, and I'll see you at our next lesson.